Hello, crafty friends. My name is Jessica, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we have a little bit of a change up for you. I've got a slight unboxing here in the beginning, and then we're going to move into making the card with products that I'm showing today. I did go ahead and purchase the full set of the Distress Spritz, and I'm looking forward to playing for those. Now, here are the products that I was sent on behalf of Simon Says Stamp for being a part of their design team. I want to be transparent about that because I do end up using one of these stamp sets from this bundle. I'm going to be using the Princess set, but these are some of the items that I get to play with in advance to create beautiful cards come release day. I'm really excited about that microfiber cloth. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But just wanted to be fully transparent that I do get sent some products from time to time. And when I do, I have been indicating that depending on what product it's been. So now to dive into the products that I purchased. I got this so fast. I did purchase Wednesday night. If you're not a part of the text crew for Simon Says Stamp, I highly recommend getting signed up for it because you do get early access to the release. Now, I purchased all of these at about 7 p.m. EST. In order to get signed up for that, you're going to want to go to the website, and in the bottom right-hand corner, there'll be an opportunity to do that. So as I'm sure we're all not surprised, I did purchase almost every single flower die from this release, if not every one, I can't remember. And then I loved the scriptiness of this Just Breathe set. So I did purchase that and the coordinating dies. I do love when Simon does these like full plate dies for their florals, and it seems like they're all kind of made that way. Love Lily of the Valley. I am a May baby, and Lily of the Valley is our birth flower, so I do gravitate towards those. But absolutely loving what I purchased. I also did get the sequin packs and a couple of the sentiment strips. And now we're going to move into the card. So as stated, I'm going to be using that princess set. We're going to be focusing on the one that I think looks like Snow White here on this group one. So we're going to go ahead and get a panel of Neenah 80 pound. That's the one I like to use when I'm using my alcohol markers. So we're going to get that, and we're going to go ahead and get it inked up with some Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. The Intense Black ink is perfect for alcohol marker coloring, and it is the one that I have found that does not smear, or one that has not smeared. I did have a couple other ones that I've tried, and no matter what I did, I could not get them to dry appropriately. And this is the first one. So I do heat set it, but I went ahead and we're going to stamp it a couple times to ensure that we get the best image. Now, as you'll see, I'm only inking up the area that has that beautiful little princess that I want to color. This is a really cute stamp set that would look really great on a slimline card, but I just want to focus on this one princess. I'm calling them princesses. I'm pretty sure some of them aren't, but I'm going to focus on that one because I have an idea. So here's the microfiber cloth, and I really like it. The pile on it isn't very high. I will say my other microfiber cloths, the piles are pretty high, but I like it because it's black. And currently I'm rocking one that is yellow, green, and orange. And you can see the ink, and even when you wash them, sometimes the ink is still there. So it will be nice to have a cleaner looking cloth in my craft room moving forward. So now we're going to go ahead and get into the coloring. So I use Ohuhu markers. I bought this pack a couple years ago, and these markers have fit my need. I am currently thinking about getting some additional types of markers, but for now, the Ohuhus have done me really well, and I've enjoyed them. This is, I believe, the 168 line. There are a lot more color choices. I just have yet to commit. I do not do a lot of coloring, but I do enjoy it. I just don't do a lot of coloring in my gravitational pull to making cards. Of course, I think we can say that florals are a big thing, ink blending, that's kind of more my jam, but I do quite enjoy coloring when appropriate, and these markers have done a really good job with the needs that I need to be met in doing it. So I'm keeping my coloring very basic. I've got a reference off camera of what Snow White looks like. Even though I grew up watching her, I'm just making sure that I'm making every part of her little outfit correct. So I'm going ahead and I did the top with different colored blues and the little bit of the red on the sleeves. and then of course her bright, vibrant red bow. And something I recently started doing is adding colored pencil to my Copic coloring. I'm gonna say Copic, but I mean alcoholic coloring. And it just adds a really fun depth to it, especially on the skin tone. I had a really hard time finding a skin tone color in my group of Ohuhu markers, and that is something that they have since remedied that I'm aware of. They sent a full skin tone line that you can purchase. But because of that, I use these colored pencils to kind of either warm up the skin tone or add some pink, depending on what color I'm using, to ensure that it looks just a little bit more natural. So that's what I'm doing here. And I've really loved adding the colored pencils to create just a little bit more of depth. And to me, it makes it look a little bit more finished. Now, these are the Luminance colored pencils, and I'm going to totally butcher this, but the Karen de Ache. Maybe I made that more bougie sounding than it needed to be, but these are really great colored pencils. I did a lot of research and watched a lot of content creators, and before I made the decision to buy these, they are a Swiss made colored pencil. They are the highest light fastness. I did move towards these without any experience with any other colored pencils. So just know that these are up the higher end of colored pencils. They are probably way too much for my coloring needs, but I have really enjoyed them. I'm sure there are other colored pencils on the market that are just as good. I just love blending, and so these tended to be the ones that I noticed were getting the best blending, and that's why I decided to purchase them. And I've been happy with them, but again, I think I overbought for what I use colored pencils for. So I noticed that because I did add the colored pencils, our dark black lines got a little cloudy. So I remembered that I hadn't removed the stamp set from my Misty, and I decided to go back in and stamp over the top. That was smart of me. Usually I am a cleaner upper as we go, and I remove my stamps as I'm done with them. And I'm glad I didn't, because this really helped. I was just going to use a Copic multiliner to go ahead and freehand things, but sometimes that can get a little challenging, especially when I'm filming, because I can't get over top of the image. But look at how beautiful that refreshed our little princess. So I'm going to go ahead and set that over to the side while I color the floral die cuts. I went ahead and put the original image up there just so that we can make sure that we have the right pieces and that we're coloring them appropriately. And one of the things I like to do when I'm coloring die cuts with Copic markers is just to tack them lightly down to a piece of white paper. I contemplated putting them on one of my sticky mats, but the last time I did that, I did end up kind of staining it, and I didn't know if it was going to be good for the markers tips over time. So I did just go ahead and decide to move forward this way. So I pulled some purples out. I thought purple would be really great as a contrast to our Snow White princess. And I think if you're not new here, you know that I enjoy a little bit more of a looser coloring method. If you are new here, I recommend that you click the little title card above and watch how I loose colored the florals on a previous card with Distress watercolor pencils. I find I get the best results when I do not adhere to maybe what would be a standard naturalistic coloring pattern for florals. It's definitely something that I can probably do with a reference, but what's the fun in trying to be perfect when you can have the opportunity to just let go and color the way that you want to? So these are definitely not fully realistic, but they are going to be playful and stand out really nice on the card at the very end. And they're fun. It's fun to do. You know, I work in a corporate kind of world during the day, and I have rules to follow and tasks to complete. And so when I create, I definitely just come in, let everything go, and just really let the creativity take me to where it needs to go. So now that we're done, we're going to go ahead and make sure that we keep the florals grouped together in their respective florals. I didn't want to make them confusing when I went to glue them down. And we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm using the packaging to just kind of give me a frame of reference, But these florals do seem very forgiving in the fact that, oops, sorry about that. Hit my hit my camera mount. These florals do seem fairly forgiving. It's just a matter of making sure which way you're going to build them up in order to make sure that you put the centerpiece where it needs to go. At first, I thought maybe it went down in between the two petal pieces and then realized that it would have been completely covered. So it's just a matter of playing with these florals to get the way that they need to look. Now, I did change the color patterns or the color choices for one of the florals, the last one there. I did add a third color just to add a little bit of dimension, and I love it. Usually, I only use about two colors with Ohuhu just because the color choices are pretty limited in my pack. But for this one, I added a third color, a little bit more of a bluish purple to kind of tie in the blue on the dress of the Snow White princess. So now that we have those all glued, I'm going to use my stamp blocks to make sure that they're getting their pressure, and then we're going to cut out the princess. I purchased these Tim Holtz shears and I thought I would use them. I had heard a lot that using this kind of scissor, especially for fussy cutting, can be a lot easier than using the ones where you put your fingers through them. But I realized that my hands do not like gripping scissors this way. I started getting a little bit of numbness, and while I think did have more control while using these to cut this out, I was shocked at how tired my hands were getting by the end of cutting this very small die cut out. So I'm not sure that these are going to be the scissors for me for fussy cutting, but at least there's some options for everybody to move forward with this. And I do apologize, I am off camera, but when I do cut out die cuts or stamped images where they're close to a black line, like this one is, I do like to use a soft tip black marker and go around the edges to highlight any of the white paper that might show through. This is a Prismacolor marker that I've had, oh my gosh, for ever, 10 plus years. And so I don't even know if it exists anymore. All you need is just a soft brush tip marker to go ahead and do that. So I know I did show the distress spritz in the beginning, and I thought I was going to use that stencil and the distress spritz to create a background. But I was really loving the simplicity of the white panel and what I was kind of going for here. So I decided to forego using the distress spritz and the stencil. I am a forever pivoter when I'm making cards. It's something that you'll notice in my videos. I like to keep it in as much as possible because card making for me is a process. I do not go into my cards knowing exactly what I'm going to do, or at least very rarely do I go in knowing exactly where I know I'm going to end up. And so this one did pivot. I decided I liked the cleaner look, went ahead and decided not to use those products, and then also added in these leaves. So again, card making for me is a work in progress until the very end. And I am a self-proclaimed fiddling queen. I have a couple of followers that love to call me that, and I love it because I'm a fiddler. I go until the image or where things are laid out until it makes me feel like it's complete. It's definitely a feeling that I get. It's not anything that I could probably teach because we all have what makes us happy in card making, and that's just how I function. I go until it looks right to me, it feels right, and then I commit. As you can see up in the corner there, that is the panel that I was considering using, but now I just have a panel for another card moving forward. We're going to go ahead and pop this up. This is my favorite foam tape. This is Altenew foam tape. I love to get this in their Black Friday sale because it's a great deal. It's typically always 30% off, and it's a great time to stock up during Black Friday. It's my favorite, like I stated. It's got the most beautiful loft. It might be a little thick for some, but I enjoy a lot of dimension on card. It makes the card feel more luxurious, I guess. I don't know when you use a lot of foam tape, but it can be challenging to mail cards like these. They sometimes will need to go into a bubbler mail or hand deliver, which is usually how I do my cards. I'm not the best at mailing them out. I go in spurts. But what I was kind of going for here, and because I trimmed the panel down, is I wanted it to look like she was kind of peeking around the panel. and peeking through the florals. So that's the look I'm going for. I did add some more foam squares to the back of the florals to kind of pop them up for a little bit more playfulness. And now I'm just trying to make sure that I put the second floral here on the card so that it's not off of the card, because I would like to be able to put this into an envelope when and if I decide to send it. So I'm just trying to figure out the best placement for it while still kind of tucking it behind our little princess image here. So I did also decide to pop her up. It just makes it a little bit easier for adhering to the card. And I am using this Simon Says Stamp foam squares for this. These are the ones that have the thicker loft. I gravitate towards those ones a lot, especially when you're adhering die cuts over other die cuts. And I know that the stems of these florals are very thin, but it makes things lay a little bit smoother when you have a little bit more dimension to them over top of other die cuts. So now I'm adding in these leaves. Again, these came from a separate die cut, so I will make sure to list those below. And this is a good time to let you know that I have everything listed below in the description below, or if I miss something, please let me know. But also note that they are affiliate links. And what that means is that if you click on a link and shop with me, I do receive a small commission at no cost to you. It does help me keep my craft room stocked with new ideas, and I do appreciate any support with the purchasing of items from those links. And now we're just going to finish up the card here. We're getting sure the layout is correct. It's feeling okay to me. One of the things I wish I would have done was add a little bit of colored pencil to these floral die cuts and these leaves, but I'm happy with the way that they look in the end without them. Now we're going to go ahead and find a sentiment. I wanted something very simple. You know, we've done a very clean background. We've got our images kind of focused in one corner. So I went for the sentiments from the newest release here, and I really loved the one that said, "I'm not going anywhere." I thought that was really cute. You know, the princess is kind of peeking around, just being like, "Hey, reminder, I'm here if you need me. I'm not going anywhere." And I thought that it was really appropriate. And I chose the white background one, just again, to keep it very clean and simple, to follow the already established feeling that we got with this card. I did purchase both the black and the white background ones, just because certain cards call for different backgrounds. These are really fun though, because they can be foiled. I don't do it often, but I have done it in the past and I've gotten pretty good success with it. So I know I said I wanted to keep it simple, but I fiddled a lot and I knew it needed a little bit more. I toyed around with a bunch of different types of these gems and pearls, and I landed on these clear dewdrop ones from Trinity Stamps. And ooh, I am so happy that I put these on here. I really love the way that they turned out. When you're using the florals, I do quite enjoy using these clear ones, especially when you put them on the florals, because they look like dewdrops. And I just love that look on regular flowers. I have a small obsession, and it's been a long time since I've done it, but with macro photography. And I would always find florals with dewdrops and take the pictures of them. And so it's quite a thing for me. And that's the card for today. Thanks for joining me. Make sure that you check out the links below, and I hope that you have a beautiful day.